and thanks for joining us for another one of our Chats for Mental Health Month, where we talk to experts and people with lived experience about their strategies and tips for better mental health. I'm Liz Farquhar, and joining me today is Craig Killian, a former New South Wales health employee. Hello, Craig.
I'm still part of New South Wales Health, just in pathology.
And now working at eHealth, and you're a speaker and ambassador for Beyond Blue. Thanks for coming in today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
And look, as a volunteer speaker for Beyond Blue, you do spend a bit of your time de-stigmatising the concept of mental health. Tell us a little bit about your journey into that space and what got you involved in speaking for Beyond Blue.
Yeah, definitely. So it's quite funny. It's one of those things that you originally have a reason why your car breaks down. So I suffer from anxiety and depression. And so to use the analogy what I was just saying is sometimes you have this way of why your car broke down, but then when you look open the boot, you start realizing there's more and more to it. So when I first, started getting the anxiety and depression, it came from a very, very hard work life, and it was a very bad work-life balance. And it was obviously one of those things that I jumped into myself because that's what I thought that you had to do. It was one of those, my wife was just told me she was having a baby, and I was like, oh, wow, I have to be an adult now. And so I was like, I have to act serious. And so I started to get more ambitious at work and started to get more overtime. And I started to reach and go to a place that that felt against the grain for me. And then that's when I started getting a lot of those symptoms of anxiety and depression. Obviously, I'm happy to dive more deeper into that if you want to. But as I got along and as I've got into, I guess, where I am now into promoting great mental health, promoting great work culture and all that type of things, is I found that it wasn't just that workplace. It was a lot of things that I had built, especially some that are specific to men in regards to, I guess, bad standards as I was growing up, coming from parts of my family growing up. It's really questioning. It came down to me questioning a lot of facts and foundations in my life, which sowed the seeds for which eventually became that anxiety and depression.
And everything just out of control in terms of you managing.
Yeah, exactly. Totally out of my control. And it's one of those funny things is because of those early standards as a teenager, as a kid, because I came from, lack of a better word, a rough household, where it's just fight or flight. Sticking by that works sometimes when you're a teenager and you're a kid, but it doesn't work when you're an adult. It doesn't work when you're a father. It doesn't work when you're a partner as well. And so, yeah, that started to work against me when those times I found out why. I'd be like, why am I acting like this right now? Because I didn't have the emotional intelligence to know what was going on. I didn't have that intelligence to go, am I going through anxiety? Because especially as a man, or even just some adults these days, you're only taught two emotions. You know, you're taught happiness and anger. Anything in between that is just a leak in a boat. And
we don't always have the words
to
talk about what's going on if you're not used to talking about those sorts of things.
Incredibly. You don't. And because I was so against asking for help, no one was there to tell me, to help me understand it as well.
So now your work with Beyond Blue, you've managed to get your life into a better and more balanced place. Is it about telling people what's worked for you and recognising the signs when maybe they may be heading down the same path?
Yeah, incredibly. It's about de-stigmatising. I know you hear that everywhere, but it's an amazing thing from my side when I'm speaking to people to actually see some looks in people's faces that they start to recognise those things that I didn't recognise at the time. when they come up to me and they go, oh, okay, I just thought I was just going through a little bit of a bad time, or, oh, I wasn't getting enough sleep, which is usually one of the big things as well. And then you explain it to them, and then it's like you see a light go off and they go, you know what, I think I might have this issue. I think this might be something. And even if it doesn't turn out to be like, I hope it never did, but they're able to step forward and ask someone and talk to someone about it, and reach for help, because they now are realising, okay, something might be wrong.
And in terms of how you manage now at work, you're obviously still in the health system and seemingly managing pretty well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now see me twitching. It's a podcast. Oh, there's a video. Yeah, you are seeing me twitching. I'm joking.
What sorts of strategies do you use to make sure that you don't get into that space again?
Yeah, it's creating boundaries for yourself. It's so funny. We're so quick to create diet plans and all these things, where you're about your well-being, your physical well-being, but we're not as hard and fast when it comes to our mental well-being. So we don't create mental health plans. So when I say mental health plans, I'm saying looking after yourself, doing those little things that you love, and you draw that boundary. Say, hey, look, I've got to do that. That boundary where you're saying, hey, look, I can't say yes to that because I have to say no because it feels wrong to me, or it makes me feel too uncomfortable and too out of my place. And I found that helps me out a lot. Obviously, and then there's the basics like, exercise. Exercise is a big thing. When I was at my worst, I wasn't exercising. I was drinking 7 cups of coffee a day. And so it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, you're drinking heaps of coffee. And then there's also...
And it's things like that you just don't notice,
you don't realise,
because they're done as part of something else. And as you say, it's the build-up of all those little factors.
Pebbles on your shoulder,
yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's those things that just after a while, it just gets too heavy.
So it's things like taking that day off that you'd planned and not saying, oh, okay, I'll stay at work. And I suppose just knowing what it is that brings you joy. Yeah. Some people take a long time to actually sit down and think, well, I'm doing a lot of work, I'm doing a lot of family. What is it that I want to do? And
it's a funny thing is when I say like things that find you joy, I'm not saying like you need to, give up everything and travel the world. Like obviously that's a joyous thing, but when I say I think those little Band-Aid things sometimes that will help you step through the day. So like when I do a Beyond Blue presentation and I tell my story, I always try to connect very much with my story. So it can be very triggering for me because I just don't want to be like a robot. And so after it, honestly, I go to McDonald's and I get a soft-serve cone with a little flake in it. And that's my joy. That's my joy. And that'll cheer me up. I'm sitting somewhere, some random dude probably looking at me just like a little kid eating his soft-serve. But those are those little things. It's those little things, or even finding that little bit of quiet time if you're a quiet type person. It's drawing that boundary for yourself to find that thing that feeds your soul.
And I suppose it's knowing that you're in an organisation where you can go to a manager, you can talk to people in senior positions at a place like New South Wales Health Pathology, like eHealth, etc., and people are going to listen and take that seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Like especially like bringing it back to pathology. Like I was explaining to you just before I started here, pathology is one of the places I came after when I was still very much in a recovery phase. And I remember coming in and speaking to my interviewer and I said, look, hey, I have anxiety and depression. I need to be straight to the point with you. Ask me anything. And they did. And there was no shame about it. And it was always something that was very much kept in, I guess, the profile of any conversations that we would have, be it with that manager or the managers above them. And they were always open. I was always be like, oh, I'm a little bit, in a fuzzy place, or as I used to call it, I call it into the fog. And they would say, look, they're fine. They were always very, and it's the same with my current workplace now. They know of my promoting, they know of my passion in promoting mental health, but they also know that I suffer from mental health. And so there's a lot of leeway. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Can't stress it enough.
And just finally, Craig, can you talk us through, obviously you get a lot of stories, you get a lot of different reactions to speaking about your mental health journey and sharing those personal experiences with different audiences wherever you go. Is there sort of one reaction or one story that really sticks out for you in terms of a connection that you made or something that happened at one of those events that really stuck with you?
Oh, it's very hard for one particular one because you do find these beautiful, beautiful people. I guess the ones that really get to you are the ones that you don't expect. So I remember, I think I was speaking earlier, I did a Bunnings Expo. I was a volunteer there, and I remember this young boy coming up to me, and he was talking about his father-in-law, and he started to break down thinking about his father-in-law. And you could see he was just this, a typical tradie, had the high vis on, and he was a tough-looking guy. And I remember just him breaking down. But also you could see the weight shift on his shoulders. He was just worried, and that worry about that love he had for his father-in-law also had that had built on him, that worry on him as well. And I remember him just giving this really relaxed smile at the end, like you do after a good workout or something, you know what I mean? Like you've gone through the pain and you're just like, wow, I feel better after that. I'm so happy after that. And I still remember that. I still remember that kid. I still remember him. And yeah.
Just giving him the space to say those words.
Exactly.
Yeah,
just
was enough.
Give him the opportunity. That's all it is. That's all about mental health. Giving someone the opportunity to speak, to talk, to feel safe in saying, I'm not okay.
Craig Killian, thank you so much for joining us for our Mental Health Month video series. It's been great meeting you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.